It's hard to look away from those wildfire images from Lahaina and Los Angeles.
Fixating.
They really are. And alongside, the grief and the calls for help and everything, I'm seeing this other conversation starting to pop up.
Yeah.
And it's one that kind of sees these events through a spiritual lens.
Interesting.
So today we're gonna dive into a piece called "Lessons from the Fires: The Purification of Power."
Yeah.
And it's a perspective that you might find challenging. So buckle up.
The core argument here is that these fires, especially in places like Lahaina and Los Angeles, aren't just these random acts of nature, but rather messages from God, specifically directed at those wielding power in entertainment, media, and culture.
And it specifically brings up verses from the Bible, like 1 Pete 1:6-7 and Hebrews 12:27 and 28.
Okay.
I'm curious about this idea of fire as this symbol of judgment, but also purification.
Right.
Is this common across different religions and beliefs?
It absolutely is. Fire has this dual nature, right? It can destroy, but it can also refine.
Yeah.
Think about how gold is purified with intense heat, right?
Oh, yeah.
This duality shows up in many spiritual traditions and often symbolizes this process of burning away impurities to reveal something stronger and more valuable beneath.
So if we apply that symbolism to these wildfires, the Pete seems to be saying that, powerful figures are being judged for their actions and influence.
Yes, and the choice of locations is interesting.
Right.
You have Lahaina, a known retreat for the entertainment industry, and then Los Angeles, the global heart of entertainment.
Right.
The author is drawing a direct line between these places and the idea of cultural influence.
And I guess it makes sense. I mean, Hollywood, with its movies and TV shows and music, it reaches billions of people.
Exactly.
I mean, we've all had moments where a song or a film kind of shifted our perspective on something, haven't we?
Absolutely. And that's why the piece emphasizes the responsibility that comes with that level of influence. Yeah.
It even quotes James 3:1, which warns about the stricter judgment faced by those who become teachers. The more influence you have, the greater the accountability for how you use it.
Okay, but isn't it a bit of a stretch to say that Hollywood is solely responsible for shaping societal values?
You're right.
I mean, surely other factors are at play here, right?
It's never that simple.
Right.
While entertainment undoubtedly plays a role in shaping trends and attitudes, it's not the only driver.
Right.
You have economic forces, political movements, technological advancements.
Yeah.
They all contribute to this complex tapestry of societal change.
But the piece seems to suggest that Hollywood has strayed from, let's say, biblical principles.
Okay.
And that these fires are a sort of wake-up call.
That's certainly one interpretation. The author points to things like the glorification of immorality, materialism, the relentless pursuit of worldly success,
Right.
arguing that these things have steered society away from a more spiritual path. So the fires are a form of divine accountability,
Right.
a way of getting people back on track.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, is this a purely spiritual perspective? Or can we draw parallels to how accountability is viewed in a secular context?
That's where things get really fascinating.
Yeah.
Secular notions of accountability might involve things like ethical behavior, social responsibility, transparency, even legal consequences.
Yeah.
But this spiritual interpretation adds another layer.
Right.
One that considers not just our actions in the world, but also our relationship with the higher power.
Almost like a cosmic report card, but with much higher stakes than just getting grounded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the weight of your actions, not just in terms of immediate consequences, but also in terms of a larger spiritual framework.
This Lessons from the Fires piece is definitely giving us a lot to think about. It's raising some really challenging questions about the responsibility that comes with influence, regardless of whether you subscribe to the specific religious beliefs it presents. Yeah, and it challenges us to examine our own priorities.
Right.
Are we building our lives on things that are ultimately fleeting, or are we investing in something more enduring?
Yeah, that's a question worth pondering no matter your worldview.
So much to unpack here.
Yeah.
We've barely scratched the surface of this spiritual interpretation of the wildfires.
Yeah.
We're back, and as we delve into this idea of the wildfires as a message, I can't help but think about the other factors at play here.
Right.
It feels almost too easy to attribute everything to some sort of divine judgment on Hollywood?
It's an understandable reaction. When faced with tragedy, it's human nature to seek explanations, to try and make sense of the chaos. But it's crucial to remember that the world rarely offers simple answers.
So what else should we be considering alongside this spiritual interpretation?
Well, for one, climate change is undeniably contributing to the increasing frequency and intensity of wildfires globally. We're seeing hotter temperatures, drier conditions, and changing weather patterns, all of which create ideal conditions for these devastating blazes.
So it's not just a matter of spiritual accountability. There's a very real scientific explanation at play.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about land management practices.
Oh. Yeah.
Urban development encroaching into wild areas, even outdated infrastructure. All of these factors contribute to the spread and severity of wildfires.
Yeah.
It's a complex interplay of human actions and natural phenomena.
Which makes me wonder, even if we acknowledge a spiritual dimension to these events, is it possible to separate that from these other factors? Can the two coexist?
That's a question that has been debated for centuries.
Yeah.
Some might argue that God works through natural processes, that even events we perceive as natural disasters can carry deeper spiritual significance.
So maybe it's not an either-or situation.
Right.
It could be both.
It's not about denying the scientific explanations.
Right.
But rather acknowledging that there might be multiple layers of meaning and purpose at play. Think of it like a tapestry.
Yeah.
Each thread contributes to the beauty and complexity of the whole, even though we might not see the complete picture from just one perspective.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It helps to make sense of how seemingly disparate ideas can coexist. But how does the source itself reconcile the spiritual interpretation with these other contributing factors?
Interestingly, they don't directly address climate change or land management practices. Their focus remains squarely on the moral and spiritual implications of the fires.
Okay.
Particularly for those in positions of power, they specifically reference Hebrews 12:27 and 28.
Right.
Which talks about things that can be shaken and things that cannot be shaken.
And that passage is often interpreted as a reminder that, material possessions, worldly success, even entire cities are ultimately temporary.
Right.
What truly endures are the things that can't be touched by fire. Faith loved the pursuit of what's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even if you don't subscribe to this specific theological framework, the message still resonates. It's a call to examine our priorities, to consider what we're building our lives upon.
It's a powerful message,
Yeah.
especially given the context of these devastating fires.
Yeah.
It's like these events are forcing us to confront the fragility of what we often take for granted.
Perhaps that's part of the purification the source is referring to. It's not just about physical purging, but also a spiritual cleansing, a stripping away of superficiality, and a reorientation towards what truly matters.
So even amidst the tragedy, there's an opportunity for growth and transformation. But the question remains, how do we translate this into action?
Right.
What does repentance and realignment actually look like, especially for those in the entertainment industry?
That's where things get even more intriguing, and that's what we'll delve into when we return for the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we're back, and we've been, exploring some pretty profound ideas about these wildfires and these spiritual interpretations some folks are attaching to them.
Yeah.
But I'm still kind of grappling with what this repentance and realignment actually looks like in practice. Especially for those in Hollywood.
Well, it's a big question, and the source offers a few concrete steps. It talks about examining your influence, repenting for what it calls cultural compromise, and embracing humility and purpose in everything you do.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to examine your influence if you're like a filmmaker or a musician or someone with a large platform?
Well, it's about taking a hard look at the messages you're putting out into the world. Are the values embedded in your work aligned with your own beliefs, or are you contributing to something you might later regret?
Right.
Are you using your platform to elevate or exploit? These are tough questions, but crucial for anyone with a voice that reaches many.
And what about this idea of repenting for cultural compromise? I mean, it feels very specific to a particular belief system, but is there a broader application here?
It's definitely loaded language, but I think the core idea transcends any one religion.
Okay.
It's about the pressure to conform to whatever's popular or profitable, even if it goes against your conscience or your values. In a secular context, this could be about speaking truth to power,
Yeah.
challenging harmful narratives, refusing to participate in systems that you know are wrong.
So it's about having the courage to stand up for what you believe in, even if it means going against the grain, potentially losing fans or even sacrificing opportunities.
Exactly. And it might also involve acknowledging past mistakes, owning where you've fallen short, and actively seeking to make amends.
Right.
It's about aligning your actions with your principles, even when it's hard.
And finally, this idea of embracing humility and purpose in all things, that feels particularly challenging in a world that often celebrates ego and ambition,
Yeah.
especially in fields like entertainment.
It's definitely a countercultural concept.
Yeah.
But imagine a Hollywood where success wasn't measured solely by box office numbers or awards,
Right.
but also by the positive impact a film or song had on the world.
So instead of asking, what can I gain from this?
Yeah.
It's more about asking, what can I contribute? How can I use my talents to make a difference?
Yes. That shift in perspective can be incredibly powerful. It takes the focus off personal gain and puts it on something larger, something more meaningful.
Even if someone doesn't buy into this whole fire as judgment interpretation, there are still some really valuable takeaways here.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder to be mindful of our influence, accountable for our actions, and to strive to live a life of purpose.
Yeah.
And that's something we can all apply whether we're in Hollywood or just navigating our everyday lives.
Absolutely. We all have a sphere of influence, whether it's our family, our workplace, our online community.
Yeah.
And this Lessons from the Fires piece, regardless of its spiritual framing, prompts us to ask, what kind of impact are we making?
Mm-hmm.
Are we using our influence to build something positive and enduring, or are we contributing to the very things we might later regret?
It's been a fascinating deep dive into a truly unique perspective. We've explored the symbolism of fire, the weight of influence, and this call to repentance and realignment. And while you might not agree with every point, I hope it sparks some introspection, some curiosity about how you wield your own influence in the world. Because ultimately, that's what this deep dive is all about. Thanks for joining us.